Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy 4th of July. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I want to thank all of you who have been helping us on our mission to get our subscriptions up to 100,000. We are really doing so well on YouTube. We'll be posting the latest updates, but we've added over 500 people as subscribers in the last 28 days. So thank you very much. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and our show today is Authentic Achievements, starring KIM-ADELE Randall. She's joining us from the United Kingdom, where it's also a big day there. We've got a big election going on. Our topic is the circle of happiness, empower your potential for personal development and growth. Let's welcome KIM-ADELE to the show. Kim, it's nice to see you.
Hi, Dr. Jacqueline. It's nice to see you, and happy 4th of July.
Thank you very much, and happy voting day. And you went out and you got your vote in?
I did. Which, as you know, I was here by the skin of my teeth, but here I am, and I'm looking forward to the chat. And I love the topic, because I think being in control of understanding what is important to us to make us happy is a major step towards achieving it, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And I thought you might enjoy this topic because you have worked with so many people in your roles. And it's important that even as we here are presenting today and we're having a conversation, that we look at our own circle of happiness, because we have the ability to impact other people as well.
Yeah. It's true. It used to really come home to me a lot, particularly once when I worked at one big company. I was in charge of sales. That if I didn't walk around looking like I was in a euphoric state all the time, people panicked and assumed something had gone wrong. And like, what's wrong? Are we off the number? I'm like, no, I just fell out with my husband. It's like, I'm just a bit grumpy. So you kind of realize the impact you could have if you didn't look like you were happy. And I could literally destroy the entire day for everybody. So I'd have to be really conscious of that with myself and go, big smile, doesn't matter what else going on in the world, go in there and smile, because if not, people are going to get nervous. So I love this whole understanding it and therefore being intentional about your own choices and the impact of those choices.
Absolutely. We're going to share a slide or two. We're going to take a look at the circle of happiness, also known as the wheel of life. But before we do that, I'd love for you to share a little bit about the value of how you are helping people and how people can connect with you.
Oh, bless you. Yes, of course. So I help people really when their organization is getting ready for investment, or when it's just been invested in. So lots of the organizations that I work with, it's really helping them to become more scalable and taking away the onus on the owner from having to be in the business all the time. So anything from doing the leadership to doing the overall infrastructure. So if you're in that space where you're looking for investment or you've just been invested in, then get in touch and we can absolutely help. Equally, I've got my own platform, which is called Authentic Achievements, and I'm always looking for fascinating people. I think we've all got a story to share, and our lived experience can help others. So if you've got an amazing story or you know somebody who has, please do reach out and get in touch. And you can find out what we're doing either by visiting AuthenticAchievements.com or reach out to me directly at kimadele.randall.com.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And Kim-ADELE, I know that you have interviewed Robert J. Moore, and
Mm.
I've interviewed him a number of times, and he's now a team member and he has his own show. And it just aired yesterday, which is Robert J. Moore Next Level Coaching, which I think is fantastic. So people can find it over on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. He's a lovely guy, full of actionable insight, and I think that's the key, isn't it? Is that, you know, often we can be inspired, but if we don't know what to do, we're just inspired to do something. We get ourselves only a little bit further down the road. And I think, like, one of the things that Robert J. Moore does so well is he doesn't just inspire you to take action. He shares with you what actions could get you to that next step. So he makes it accessible for you.
Absolutely. He's a very special person. So we're thrilled. So please do go over and connect with Kim-ADELE Randall, because she's a great interviewer, make you feel very comfortable. And it's good for your business too, to get out there and share what it is that you're doing. So I know some people are intimidated. They think, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. There's also coaching that you can get so you can be ready. So just walk through that door. So I'm going to bring up this slide, but before I do, I just wanted to share something. We had a program the other day called the Majorca Connection with Roland Friedel, one of our team members, and he wanted to talk about happiness. And he shared this slide, and I saw it. And that night I was teaching a course, Setting Boundaries and Asking Permission. And so I showed this slide at the end to try to bring into the fact that when we're out of alignment in various areas in our life, not where we want to be, not with what people are judging us about where we should be, but where we feel we'd like to be, we can't listen at an elevated level. And that sometimes can cause frustration, and that domino effect that it just starts to impact every area of your life. So let's take a look at this slide. And this is the circle of happiness, or the wheel of life. There's a number of different names for it. And you'll see there are 6 different quadrants in this wheel. And as Roland described, the quadrants in the blue are like rubber balls, meaning that you can drop them and then they can come back up. So you can lose your money, you can lose your career, you can lose your lifestyle, but you can get it back. Whereas the ones in yellow, relationships, health, and personal development, are crystal balls. And when they break, that has a major ripple effect through your life. So Kim-ADELE, what I'd love to do here, if you're open to it, is we'll each pick one of these quadrants, and then you'll see there are numbers is 0 to 10. And of course, that's the happiness scale. So in each of these areas, how satisfied, how happy do you feel you are today? And then you don't have to share the number if you don't want to, but you can. And then the goal would be to have that same score all the way around. Now, what I didn't get to ask Roland was, let's say you picked 2, like your health was a 2 and everything else in your life was a 2. Does that mean that your happiness, you're satisfied because the wheel can keep rolling even though it's a 2? What are your thoughts?
I no, because if it was all just a 2, then that would feel quite sad, wouldn't it? That you've got no, but I guess if they're all a 2 and you can have a plan to how to make all of them a 3 and then all of them a 4, maybe that's it. Maybe you get the wheel to build momentum, as opposed to I'm at a 2 and I'm staying at a 2. But yeah, I can absolutely see how, you know, when one of them's out of kilter, it'd be a little bit like driving a car with a flat tire, wouldn't it? It'd be a little bit bumpy as you go along that road.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then I think oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, life does sometimes feel like that, doesn't it? Like you're driving a car with a flat tire.
It's so true. And I also want to point out that at any point in life, these can change. So depending on what you're doing, where you are, what's going on in your life, these numbers could change. So why don't you pick one and I'll pick one, and then we can discuss. What would you like to start with?
Oh, where am I going to go? I'm going to go with personal development.
Okay.
And I would say at the moment, I'm probably about a 6 or 7. I'm probably 6.5. I'm somewhere in between the two. It's not where I'd like to be. It's where I am. I find myself shoulding all over myself. So yeah, we've talked before about that unsolicited feedback and where we, you know, people tell us what we should do. I am particularly guilty of doing that to myself. I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have done the other, I should have done, and therefore I almost unsolicit my own feedback rather than do something about it. So I know what I would like to be doing in my personal development, and I try and make sure I read half an hour of a book every day, or listen to it on Audible or something. But that will be the one thing, if I'm honest, that I put down if one of the others is out of kilter. And then I get frustrated with myself that I've put it down. So that's why it's probably at a 6.5, 7 versus where I'd like it to be, because I know right now, if I'm really honest, I've put it down. And it's been the thing that I've allowed to go on the pending pile instead of the to-do list, because I'm focused in one of the other areas instead.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm wondering, when in your life were you a 7, 8, 9, or 10, if at all?
Oh, great question. So I think for me, personal development has always been really huge. I am a lifelong learner. I'm also what I used to call a course junkie. I love a course. That's why I could do random things with people like, how do you know how to do that? I was like, I don't know. I thought I'd learn. I was joking with somebody the other day that Scarlett and I had wallpapered our lounge wall together, and they went, "You wallpaper?" And I was like, "Yeah, I learned." Why would you learn that? It's like, well, I thought it was a useful skill to have. I thought it would be helpful. So I think for me, it's always been a way I defined myself, and particularly because, as you know, I've shown this show so many times before, I struggled for so many years with my opinion of myself and my self-belief, that one of the ways that I tried to get past that was to learn loads and loads of new things. And so I have now got a random set of skills where people are like, right. So for example, when we renovated a house many years ago, I learned how to rewire. Now, clearly these days with regulation, you actually have to have an electrician check it. But the last one that I did, I rewired and they signed off on it, just because why not learn that? But actually it wasn't, and now in hindsight, looking back at it, it wasn't about a drive to develop, to do more. It was a drive to develop, to bridge gaps that I thought were there that weren't. And so I think there was an element of conscious choice of taking a bit of a step back from that. And then I started to put more bits in. But for me, the 2 bits of advice that I try and live my life by, which came from my grandparents, and my nan said, make every day a school day. So in every day, learn something. And my granddad said, live every day as if it's your last, and one day you'll be right. And what I took from that was that I should not put off until tomorrow something that I should do today. And I think it's looking through those 2 lenses that makes me realize I've put it on my pending pile, not on my to-do list, because I haven't stayed as focused on it as I would like to.
I have a smile on my face when I just hear those words of advice. I think they're so spot on. So for personal development, it's not a priority as much as some of the other things are for you. So what are the other spokes in the wheel, the pieces of the pie, that are more important than personal development for you?
And again, and you said this so eloquently, much more eloquent than me at the start, Dr. Jefflin. I think it is, they change over time, don't they? So for me, one of the things that didn't used to be, so number one to me is probably my relationships, my friendships, and particularly my relationship with my little girl. And so they'll always be my drive. You know, am I doing enough to put into that emotional bank account? Am I making sure I'm adding more than I'm taking away, and therefore we're not in a deficit with all the people that are important to me? So friends, family, Scarlett, Pudding, the dog. You know, am I balancing all of those? And they'll always be my driver. For me, for a long time, the financial element was perhaps something that I spent a bit less time thinking about, and possibly that was, if I'm honest, from a position of perhaps not being conscious, not being grateful. So I had big corporate jobs. Yes, I worked stupid hours, but I had big corporate jobs, and therefore you had a certain lifestyle. Finances weren't a challenge. Moving into the world of being an entrepreneur, life isn't quite the same. So all of a sudden now you are the person that is responsible for everything, and therefore I know that when things, the last few years running my own business and getting it set up, I have been much more conscious and much more focused on the finances it's more from a security point of view, which is, have I got the right safety net to ensure that I can give Scarlett, a happy, healthy home and experiences that she wants, not from a let's fly around the world, much that'd be lovely. I'm not saying that's not on my wish list, but from a necessity point of view, as in have we got enough? And being being a single mum and a single mum and entrepreneur, finances has definitely turned up its volume in the last few years. I'm very much more consciously focused on it, but more in how it plays into, therefore making sure I can make healthy lifestyle choices, making sure that I can invest time, because as a business person, the time that we're not spent in our business is time we're not earning anything to build anything else. But that time spent with Scarlett is priceless to me. So making sure that I can bring enough in here so that I can invest enough over here, it was all changed for me, the priority on that cycle. So it's not around which one. I guess for me, is that piece that's going. I remember having a conversation about this once with somebody, and it was a different wheel. And one of the drivers was love, and one of the which possibly relationships, and one of the drivers was was career. One of them was personal development, and he really couldn't understand why my driver in life wasn't the love box. And I was like, it used to be until I didn't have it. When I didn't have it, that was my driver. That was the thing that I needed. Now that I've got it, actually, it's about what can I do to add on to that to move it somewhere else. So for me, relationship will probably always be my number one driver. But because I've got those and they're solid, it's now a case of how can I expand into those other areas to add even more value to these relationships.
I love your thought process there. I'm actually considering what you just said because I never looked at it like that. It's very intuitive, very insightful.
I don't know if that's the way you're supposed to do it, but in my head, that was the one, which is, if I've got to this one and it's going well, how do I keep that plate spinning? And then how do I focus on one of the other ones to add even more to this one? If this one's going to be, if I could only have one of those, which one would it be? And for me, there was a real moment, which was, so Scarlett was not quite 2. And I'd kind of worked really hard on the building the relationships, investing in friends, etc. I was pushing a little bit on the career, which was more from the financial, so could give her stability. I'd become a single mum. How did I pull all of those elements too? And I'm embarrassed to say that I had what I thought was a cold. I told everybody that I met it was just a cold, and the people I was working for at the time, they were like, "Can we think you're really ill?" And I said, "It was ridiculous. It's like, it's just a cold. It's just a cold. I'm just a little bit older and I'm a single mum and things take a little bit longer than they used to, but it is just a cold." So you can imagine how embarrassing it was when that was on the Friday, when on the Sunday I had to get in touch with them from intensive care to say I won't be in work tomorrow because it turns out it was not just a cold and I'm actually in intensive care for double lung pneumonia. And for me, that was a real eye-opener, which made me realise I'd been focused on the relationship and focused on, was I doing enough with what I could do in my career to bring in the finances to make sure that I could build us a new stable home in our new capacity as just the two of us. And I'd totally taken my eye off the ball on personal health. And yet, without being healthy, I wouldn't be here to invest in her and build that relationship. So the thing that was most important in my life, I was putting at risk because I hadn't appreciated that if I didn't take some balance across all of those cycles, I could inadvertently risk the one that was most important to me.
Woo! You are on fire today, girl. For those just joining us, this is Authentic Achievements, and we're talking about the Circle of Happiness with KIM-ADELE Randall. KIM-ADELE, what are your thoughts considering the value that you place on being a mother and the time that you spend with your family, your daughter? What do you think is the priority for you for your career?
So for me, for my career, it's always been really weird. So I I've never had a career plan, I'm ashamed to say. I mean, I tell people they should have one. I mean, I'm do as I say, not do as I do. I kind of did have one when I first set out. I wanted to be a hairdresser. I wanted to run my own salon. That was going to be it. That was my career for life. And I had to have some interesting debates with school along the way, because they were like, "No, we think you should go to university." I was like, "No, thank you, not to be a hairdresser." And then I did, and I was really lucky. So I left school at 15. I did my apprenticeship the old-fashioned way. I went one day to college, and the rest of the time working in a salon, working your way up. And then I set my business up at 18, and thought, this is it. It's my dream come true. Everything's going the way I expected it to. And then, life throws us the odd plot twist. So I ended up losing the feeling in my hands and legs, and it took us about 3 years to find out what it was. And it turns out I was allergic to perm lotion, and so allergic to perm lotion that I couldn't be there when anybody else did a perm, which, back in the 90s was a bit of a challenge, because perms were in. So I ended up having to completely change my direction. And at that point, I got married for the first time, and so I sold my business. And I got a 6-month temporary contract while I worked out what I wanted to do next as a cashier at the bank, because I was like, well, that'll work. And I spent the next 25 years in either financial services or IT software, not because I had a plan, but because it was like, well, that looks interesting. I'll tootle over and see what that can do. Or that looks interesting and that pays quite nicely, so I'll wander over there and see what that can do. And so it never really was something that I had structured. So when I look at this wheel, I kind of look at it and go, it's fascinating how when I've always said life only makes sense in the rearview mirror. So I focused a lot on developing myself and my skills, just from I like to learn new things, and and I want to challenge myself. And I did. I spent a lot of time focused on the finances, and the finances is one of those things where we don't always like to talk about it, do we? Because it's like, well, we don't want to say that we're interested in the money. But actually, for me, it was always what the money would allow me to do: learn more things, or travel more places, or help more people. Or so actually, if you didn't have any, you could have less impact, versus I want to have loads and have no impact at all. But I'd never really considered much specifically about what direction do I want my career to be in, which is possibly why I focused on it so much for the people that worked for me. So I have a plan and work the plan, because I've never had a plan. And I kind of feel like not everybody is going to like it that way. As you know, I'm a Myers-Briggs practitioner, and I am an off-the-scale P naturally. So I don't like plan. I'm hopeless outside of work. So I used to run these big organizations and be responsible for making, multi-million-pound decisions. And I would do that, and that wouldn't cause me any problem whatsoever. But get home and be asked, if we're going out for dinner tonight, what do you fancy? I'd be floored. Like, I don't know. I don't make the decision. I can't make that decision. Somebody else is going to have to make it for me. And they were like, how do you make these big ones? And I was like, because they're really important. They're about people's lives and things. And actually, for these ones over, what do I do? Do I go here? Do I go there? I just don't really mind. I'm just going to go with the flow, because what's most important to me is the people I'm spending the time with. But I recognize now, as I've got older, that actually I'd have done that better if I'd have put some effort or some emphasis on the other side of the wheel to say, am I pointing the car in the direction I want it to go?
I have so much in common with you from what you just shared. That's amazing, because we do have to make big decisions, and the little ones, same thing with me. They don't really, I don't care where we're going to dinner or what we're having for dinner mostly. So I like that tie-in, because it goes along with this wheel as well, in that things happen in our lives that can cause how we feel about things to change. So maybe one day we will care about where we're going for dinner, because maybe we're on a special eating plan, or maybe we're celebrating something special. But at this moment in time, it's not that important. So if you had to pick a number for your career today at this moment, from 1 to 10, where would it be?
I'd probably go 5.
Wow, that surprises me, KIM-ADELE.
Yeah, I'd probably go 5. And I guess what I mean by that is I'm in a space right now, and I'm loving the space that I'm in. So I'm loving the space that I'm in, where I'm just doing the things that really intrigue me, that I find that bring me joy. And therefore it doesn't, although I'm doing great things, I'm probably doing things that maybe I'm thinking about the answer wrong. I'm doing things that I love and I really enjoy and that add value, and that, the clients that I work with are amazing. But actually, I've not got a defined plan of where this is going. I've just got isn't it lovely to be in a place where you can do the things you love to do for a bit and just focus in on those elements. So it feels like right now it's one that I'm not putting. I'm putting all my intention and all of my effort into what I'm doing, not into the planning how all that pulls together. And what does that mean ultimately from a career point of view?
Is it possible that you're just so darn good at what you do that it's really a 10, but your 10 now looks like a 5?
Joe, that is possibly true. I did have somebody level at me the other day. They were like, "Do you just have more hours in your day than anybody else does?" And I was like, "Why?" And they said, "Well, just tell us again what you do." And I said, "Well, yeah, I do. So I'm currently fractional COO and fractional CPO for 2 different organisations, and I've got a couple of consulting clients. I do this show. I've got my own show. I've got a publisher, and I'm also writing my other next book. Plus, obviously, I've got my little girl. I've got a passion for cooking, and for life in general." And we're like, "Yeah, that's what we need." Good. Sorry, the dog is going mad, which is what you need, isn't it? But at least the show's called Authentic Achievement, so we are being honest. We are. But I was like, well, actually, no, I love all of those things. So you kind of fit them in, you make them work. So maybe you're right. Maybe I don't give myself credit for how much I do fit into a day, and how much more could I expect of myself, really.
Well, and I think also you're happy doing what you're doing. So this is a wheel of happiness.
So yeah, no, you're right. I was looking at how much am I focused on it. If I'm looking at how happy am I in doing what I'm doing, yeah, I'd say I'm there probably a 9 or a 10, definitely, because I get to meet amazing people. I get to work with people like you. I get to hear their stories and share them. I mean, there are moments where I literally pinch myself and go, how did this happen? How did this happen? And how lucky am I that I get to meet these people and sharing that experience. And I think whenever you do, and I go to lots of events, and one thing that I find in common almost everywhere I go is everybody doubts that they should be there. So while you're there going, "Oh, I don't think I should be here. Look at this room of people, and I don't think I should be in it." When you go and ask them that question, I guarantee at least 1 in 3, if not 2 in 3, will go, "You've got to be joking. I felt the same coming and talking to you." So I think sometimes it's changing that tack, isn't it? And looking at it and saying, for me, I kind of try and live my life on, it's, as you know, my mission in life for me and my little girl is to live a life of passionate curiosity, and to pass our thoughts, words and deeds through the lenses of, is it honest, is it kind, and does it add value? And to make sure in every day you've done something that makes your soul sing, even if that was just a 2-minute thing. I mean, one thing that makes mine and my little girl's soul sing, that we will never make anybody else in the world suffer, is we love singing really loudly songs together and dancing around the kitchen. We're not very good, but who cares? There's only us there. And what we are getting from it is, I guarantee, a massive injection of happiness, because we're not trying to be brilliant at it. We're just trying to have fun at it. And for me, that's been a big change in my life, which was, it's okay to do it because you enjoy it, not to do it to try and be the best at it. Because I drove my life for so many years in trying to be the best, whilst not accepting anything that I did positively. So you were trying to be the best while believing you can only ever be the worst. And I guarantee that's no place to live for anybody, because it's just never good enough. It's just, and the only person that is really critiquing you on that is you. And that was a really hard lesson to learn for me, which when I realized that actually I'd got nobody else to blame for this voice in my head, because it was my voice. And if I didn't like what it was saying, I needed to learn to change it.
And by the way, that's part of personal development, correct?
Yeah.
And also what you and I do, interviewing people, I feel that's also personal development. Sometimes I can't believe how much I know from people coming and sharing their stories. It's just the amount of education that we get by being a broadcaster and interviewer, I think it's really tremendous.
It is, it's priceless, because we learn something from everybody we meet as long as we're open-minded to learn from it. You know, I learn something from my little girl and her friends. I learn something from every interview that I do. I learn something from bumping into people in the street, or you're watching where they're going. And you kind of look back, and it's only when you start chatting to people and you kind of suddenly go, oh, I know something about that, because I interviewed somebody on this show, or I interviewed somebody on my show. And so, you know, I do sometimes think when it comes to me, a little bit of knowledge can be a bad thing. But having that little bit allows you to just ask better questions, doesn't it?
For sure. And to keep that childlike curiosity. Something else I want to mention about the wheel is, and I said this the other night when I was teaching the course, is we may think one thing, one number in our mind when it comes to, let's say, I'm going to give my own example, health. And someone else might think something else about that. So if you are looking at this wheel and then you're sharing what you personally think where you're at in each of these quadrants, and then you go tell a loved one or a friend or someone else, they might not agree with you because they might have a different perspective of where you are. So for health, for example, you know, I have ulcerative colitis, excuse me, and I have high blood pressure. I feel like I'm a 10. But the doctors might say I'm a 5. But for me, at this moment in time, I feel like my health is a 10. So I think it's important that we also recognize how much influence are we allowing other people to have in our life to, I don't want to use the word manipulate because that's negative, but to alter the perspective that we have of our happiness in each of these areas.
Oh, that's such a great point, because too often, and I see it with clients, I've definitely done it myself, where, you know, when somebody's asking us about a measure of success, we looked at other people first for validation that how we're going to measure it is going to be okay. It's going to be the same as they're going to measure it. And I think, you know, like you said, this is your measure of your happiness. So actually, you should be the best judge of that, because it's your measure of you. This is a self-reflection tool, not a, you know, not map my performance and do it as a 360. And so when I look at tools like this, I look at it and go, it's got to be how I feel, because I'm measuring my happiness in each of these situations. And if I lie to myself, then I'm never going to change anything. But actually, if I look at it and go, nothing could be different right now, it's absolutely going swimmingly, like nothing, I couldn't change a thing, I couldn't alter anything that would go better, then yeah, it can be a 10. And somebody else may look at it and go, well, it's like, you know, you're saying a 10, and that you couldn't get any better, but actually you just your health isn't brilliant, but it isn't perfect because you're asthmatic, etc. It's like, I've been asthmatic since I was 4. And I think about how happy I am now with my health versus how happy I've been at different points in my life. I'm a 10, and I'm happy with that. Now, you could judge a 10 on being there is absolutely nothing wrong with me. I'm judging it on how I am today versus how I've been in my history, and how happy does that make me?
And also, how important is it to focus on happiness in general while we're so busy doing? So let me clarify. So there are times in life, and I'm guilty of this as well, where my head is down in the sand and all I'm focused on are tasks, or maybe I'm looking for a new project and I'm researching, but I'm not actually consciously aware of what my happiness is because my focus is not on that. How would you describe that in another way? Because I don't know, I'm getting across.
Okay, so let me see if I get that right. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of examples I've had. Sometimes when I am in that research mode, when I'm thinking about, I want to do something else. I don't know what it is, but I want to do something else. I might not at that point have known which one of those drivers I'm actually trying to do it in. I'm just in a fancy doing something. I guess for me, this is where for me personally, I'll look at it and go, something in my overall happiness says that there's a space that I could fill. And I might be going and doing that research, not knowing really what it's going to be, but going on my intuition. So when I start to do the research, you suddenly find that one thing, you go, oh, that looks interesting. That looks great. And then you look into it and go, oh, actually, that would improve my health, or that would develop me as a person, or that would give me a lifestyle change, or that might do 3 or 4 of those things. But you've not necessarily set out to meet one of those goals. You've just been going, I wonder what next. I wonder what I wonder where else I can do something. Because I think we're quite alike, Dr. Jacqueline. And for me, sometimes I find myself feeling guilty if I'm sat doing nothing, because I'm like, well, I should be doing something. I should be busy being busy, because that's, I guess, one of the ways I've measured success for a lot of years. And so I'm often researching something else to do, or somewhere else to go, or something else to do. And now one of the things that I do is I ask myself, do you really need to do that? Why are you on this pursuit of happiness? And why can you not just be? Why can you not just sit? Why can you not just be? And that helps me sometimes realize when actually I'm out of kilter on one of the other ones and I'm running away from it. So it's like, I'm going to be busy, so I don't have to focus on the fact that I am not really happy with what I'm doing for myself in this segment of my life.
Thank you, KIM-ADELE. And how would you say or define how happiness and self-care go together? And is self-care under health or personal development or lifestyle? I don't know.
Oh, that's a great question. I think it could be under a few, because I think it also falls under, and it's the one I probably, until the last year, would not have put it under. Also falls into relationship, because if we can't have a good relationship with ourselves, how do we think we're going to have a really good relationship with anybody else? And so self-care, I think, fits in there. I mean, for years, I did not understand, categorically did not understand the saying that you put your own life mask on first. Because like, well, you wouldn't do that, would you? You'd help somebody else. I mean, surely you'd help somebody that might be less capable of doing it for themselves. And for years, that's what I believed, until I suddenly was on a flight one day. Not that we needed it, thank the Lord, but I was on a flight one day, and they were doing their safety measure, and I'd got Scarlett sat at the side of me, and it suddenly hit me, really hit me in that moment. I was like, of course, I'd have to put mine on first, because if I put hers on first and I didn't get to put mine on as a result, she'd be on her own. There'd be nobody else there to help her. Whereas if I put mine on, I stand a chance of helping her to put hers on, and I'm still there to help her when that moves forward. And I'm embarrassed to say that we all know I had Scarlett at 43. So for the first 40 odd years of my life, I didn't get that concept. But that's because I didn't value self-care at all. Even if I was on my knees, I would give my last bit of energy to help somebody else. And now I realize that actually I have to equally focus on making sure that I'm having a good relationship with myself and I'm demonstrating self-care, because if not, I can't be there for Scarlett in the way I want to be there for her. I can't be there for my friends and my family in the way I want to be there for them, because as we've said throughout this, if we're out of kilter in one of those, we can't really listen, because part of us isn't fulfilled.
That's beautiful. I love that. I think my last question for you today is, when you think of your legacy that you're going to leave behind, which 2 would you like to be remembered for?
Oh, great question. So definitely my relationships. Definitely would be that would be my number one that I would want to be remembered for. And I think if I think about my legacy, for me, I always think my legacy is Scarly, because that's where you have the biggest impact. Very often is with your children. I'd like it to be the personal development, because if you can live a life of that passionate curiosity and wanting to continue to learn, then she will always be able to keep that wheel of happiness spinning, because she can learn something that will then impact one or more of any of those other quadrants. So for me, the two I would love is to demonstrate the importance of relationships and actually how much you have to give before you can take within those, and that it needs to be balanced. And the second is back to my nan and granddad, which is make every day a school day and don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today.
Fabulous. What a great way to end for today. How can people reach you, and who would you like to contact you?
So you can get in touch. You can find out what we're doing at AuthenticAchievements.com. You can reach out to me directly at kim@kimadele.randall.com. And I'm kind of two ways, really. So at the moment, I'm obviously always looking for fascinating guests that want to share their lived experience to inspire other people who may be going through something similar. And also working with organizations that have either just had investment or are seeking investment to really help ensure that they are scalable and saleable. So if you fall into either of those two camps, please do reach out and get in touch.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for doing this little exercise of the Wheel of Happiness. What are your thoughts about the value of it? Did you?
I love it. I think, whenever you look at something new, and as you know, I live my life in a curious space. It makes you view it from a different perspective. So I'd kind of looked at it from have I got everything planned? For example, with the career one, have I got anything planned? When you asked the different question, which was, are you doing things you're happy with? It's like, oh, actually, yeah. No, my numbers changed because I'm happy doing what I'm doing now. Yes. Do I feel I could articulate it in a plan that other people could look at and go, ticking the boxes here? No, I don't. So I think sometimes things like this are so useful to help you realize that actually, if you don't keep an eye on all of those, they're going to inadvertently impact the others. And so it's got to be in that balance to help you tie and not get flat, I guess.
Yes, I love that. Help the tire not get flat. Well, you have a beautiful rest of your day, and it feels like a holiday here, I guess, because it is 4th of July, even though we're here working. But whatever it is that you have planned for the weekend, please do enjoy, and we'll look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks.
I look forward to it too. And you have an amazing rest of 4th of July. You take care.
Thanks. You too. Bye for now.
Bye.
Please do go over and reach out to Kim-ADELE Randall. You can find her on all the social media platforms, as well as her own website, which is kimadele.randall.com. Okay, I wanted to share a few things with you. We have a brand new show, which is called Literary Insights Book Reviews. And we're doing a short program just to call out some incredible work that's been published by people on our team, people who are our guests, as well as people that we just admire their work. And we are doing our countdown for subscribers to reach 100,000. And the number is much higher now. I don't know what it is, but it's 38,400 and something, I believe. So do join us by going over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV, and subscribe. Thank you very much. I hope wherever you are in the world that you take a few minutes to just give yourself gratitude and grace and find things to be grateful for. I'm grateful for all of you for this incredible journey that we're on here at USA Global TV and Radio. And I thank you so much for your support and for spreading the word, letting other people know about us. That's all for now. We'll be back again with our next program very shortly. See you soon. This program has been brought to you in part by Zane Carson Carruth, etiquette and protocol expert, international award-winning author, television show host, and philanthropist. Thank you to Zane, our official diamond sponsor for USA Global TV and Radio in partnership with E360 TV. Zane is the author of The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever, as well as many other children's books. She's also the television host of Elegance, Polished Demeanor, and Posh Living, seen on USA Global TV and Radio.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Caruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Bella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Bella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Bella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com. and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
To learn more about Zane, contact her through her website, zanecaruth.com, ZANECARRUTH.com. Order Zane's books and merchandise. Contact her about being a keynote speaker at your next event.